You think fear is about danger. It isn't. Fear is about surprise. Every time something has genuinely shaken you, the sudden loss, the public failure, the ending you did not see coming, it wasn't the thing itself that broke you. It was that you were unprepared. The disciplined mind has a secret almost no one talks about. It doesn't avoid the worst. It rehearses it. In full detail, in the quiet before anything happens, and by the time reality arrives with its cruelty, the disciplined mind is already waiting, already familiar, already unshakable. This video is about a practice the Stoics called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Once you understand what it actually does to a mind, you will never relate to fear the same way again. The year is 83 AD. A Roman general named Agricola stands at the edge of the known world, the highlands of Caledonia, what we now call Scotland. His legions are outnumbered. The terrain is unfamiliar. The enemy fights on ground they have known since childhood. And yet Agricola does not hesitate. His biographer Tacitus records that what defined Agricola's command was not romantic courage. It was preparation so thorough that no outcome surprised him. He had mentally walked through defeat before the battle. He had rehearsed the fog, the broken flank, the retreat. So when difficulty came, and it always comes, his mind had already been there. This is the real architecture of discipline. Not the cold shower, not the early alarm. Those are tools. The foundation is this: a mind that has pre-experienced its fears so completely that reality loses its power to destabilize it. Discipline, at its deepest, is the quiet elimination of everything that can shake you. Law 1. Unpreparedness is the true source of fear. Think about the things you fear right now. Losing your income, a relationship ending, being humiliated in front of people whose opinion you value. Now ask yourself, have you ever actually sat with those scenarios in full? Or do you do what most people do, push them away the moment they surface, call that mental health, and move on? That avoidance is not strength. It is the fertilizer fear grows in. Anxious rumination circles the fear without resolution. It spins. Premeditation walks straight into the fear, maps it, and walks back out. One keeps you hostage, the other sets you free. The undisciplined mind fears the future because it has never visited it. The disciplined mind has already been there and survived. But there is something almost no one notices about the difference between these two kinds of thinking. Law 2. The rehearsal is not pessimism. It is precision. Most people stop themselves here. They think, if I imagine the worst, I am being negative. I am undermining my own confidence. This is one of the costliest confusions in modern thinking about the mind. Premeditatio Malorum is not pessimism. Pessimism says it will go wrong, so why try? Premeditation says it may go wrong. So let me know exactly what that looks like and who I will be when it does. One is paralysis. The other is surgery. A surgeon does not walk into the operating room hoping everything goes smoothly. A surgeon has rehearsed every complication, not because complications are expected, but because a mind that has rehearsed them does not freeze when they arrive. When you rehearse the loss of income, you are not predicting poverty. You are building a self that poverty cannot paralyze. When you rehearse the end of a relationship, you are not sabotaging love. You are building a self that loss cannot erase. Precision, not pessimism. That is the distinction. Law 3. The imagination properly used is a training ground. The Stoics understood something that experience since confirms. The mind does not fully distinguish between a vividly imagined hardship and a real one. The emotional response activates in both cases. This is why the untrained imagination is a liability. It replays humiliations, amplifies threats, catastrophizes at 3 in the morning, and the body responds as if all of it is happening now. But that same mechanism, turned deliberately toward difficulty, becomes armor. Marcus Aurelius wrote the Meditations to himself, not for publication, and what he wrote over and over was this: prepare your mind for what is hard before the day demands it. Begin the morning by saying to thyself, I shall meet with meddling, ungrateful, violent, treacherous men. He was not being cynical. He was calibrating. By the time the difficult person arrived, and they always arrived, his mind was not ambushed. It was ready. The imagination, properly disciplined, is not where you escape reality. It is where you rehearse surviving it. Law 4. Repeated rehearsal dissolves fear. Not by logic, but by familiarity. Fear is not rational. You cannot argue your way out of it. But fear is deeply responsive to familiarity. The first time you imagine your business failing, really sit with it, feel the weight, it is uncomfortable. The second time, slightly less so. By the 10th time, something remarkable happens. The fear is still there, but it has lost its grip. Because your nervous system has visited that place enough times to know. You survive it. You make decisions. You move. Epictetus, who had been a slave, who knew loss not as philosophy, but as lived reality, said it plainly. Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are. That is a man who rehearsed reality until he could meet it without flinching. Discipline does not make you hard. It makes you familiar with difficulty. And familiarity is the end of fear's leverage. Law 5. What you have already lost, you cannot lose again. When you fully rehearse losing something, your reputation, your income, someone you love, and you sit with that imagined loss long enough to survive it in your mind, something shifts. You still want it. You still care for it, but it no longer owns you. Seneca put it plainly. Everything is alien to us. Only time is truly ours. The person who has rehearsed losing their position does not make desperate, undignified decisions to protect it when it is threatened. The person who has rehearsed the end of a relationship does not become controlling when they sense distance, because they have already survived the loss. In the mind. They know they are intact on the other side of it, and that knowledge makes them free while they still have it. This is one of the most counterintuitive gifts of disciplined rehearsal. It does not make you indifferent to what you love. It makes you free within it. Here is the turn that reframes everything. Premeditatio Malorum is not about expecting the worst. It is about arriving. Every fear you refuse to rehearse is a debt you defer. Life will collect it, in the form of panic, paralysis, decisions made in the fog of shock. Every fear you walk through deliberately in your own mind, before reality demands it. That fear becomes known territory, and you cannot be ambushed in territory you have already mapped. The disciplined mind does not fear nothing, because nothing bad can happen. It fears nothing because it has already been everywhere bad things lead, and came back every time. Discipline, at its truest, is not the suppression of fear. It is the systematic removal of everything fear needs to survive. Surprise, avoidance, and the illusion that you are exempt from loss. You are not exempt. But the mind that knows this, deeply, not just intellectually, moves through life with a steadiness that most people will never understand. So here is where you begin. Not with a new habit, with a single question, asked in a quiet moment, without flinching. What is the thing you are most afraid of losing right now? Sit with it. Walk into it in your mind. Trace what happens next, and next, and next. Find yourself on the other side of it, still here, still capable, still moving. Do that once, and you will understand what the Stoics spent lifetimes building. Not a life without loss, but a self that loss cannot unmake. The disciplined mind fears nothing, not because it is hard, but because it was honest enough to feel everything in advance, and chose to keep going anyway. Fear needs surprise to survive. Give it none.